Hi, welcome along to a brand new episode of the Recurring Revenue Rocks show. It's great to have you here today. And for today's episode, we're going to be focusing on my lessons that I learned from trebling my business in 1 year, how I went from 36K in year one of my business across to over 100K in my business on year two. So I learned some really invaluable lessons going through that process. It was definitely a learning curve for me that year, and I wanted to share 5 of my learnings with you on this episode today so that you can benefit from it too. So the first most important lesson that I probably learned is that you have got to be in love with the offer that you are putting out there. You have got to believe in it 100%. You've got to be completely behind it energetically, and you've got to be so excited about selling it. I think that was the first big lesson that I learned, because the year prior, when I'd earned 36K, and it was a brand new business, I was really happy to have earned 36K. So that was a really great first year for me and a brand new business. But in that year, I had put out several different offers which I was not in love with. I was putting them out there because I thought they might work. I was putting them out there because I thought I should put them out there. With some of those offers, I wasn't 100% behind them. So when I made that big change and really kind of went all in on promoting an offer which I was thoroughly in love with, which I knew I had an area of expertise in, which I had a huge passion about teaching, which I just really enjoyed putting out there and really enjoyed coming up with marketing material for it and all that kind of thing, things fell into place a lot more easily, and it felt like a lot less of a slog than it did the year before. So I think that had a huge impact on trebling the business, was that I was really energetically behind the thing that I was promoting. So that was my first lesson. And for you guys, I really want you to do a check-in with yourselves, actually. If you are finding yourself kind of like wondering why things aren't moving more quickly, why you're not earning more money from the offers that you're putting out there, why you're not selling more places in your membership, I really want you to check in on the spark that you have for that particular offer, for that particular membership. Whatever it is that you're putting out there, would you take it yourself? If you saw it advertised by someone else in exactly the way you're marketing it, would you take it? Would you be excited to be a member of that membership or a client on that programship? Would you be excited to get involved with it? Would you think that it was good value for money and that it was a steal, that it would help you solve your problem? Because if it's not, and you kind of you'd be slightly ashamed of it, or wanting to click away from it, or if you don't feel good about that offer, something needs to change, because you're not in alignment with who the best you is and what you should be doing in the world. So really have a check-in on what you're selling and how you feel about it. If you're not in love with it, change it up so that you do fall in love with it. Start offering something which you truly absolutely love and that you could talk about all day and all night. Like my signature program, Magnetize Your Membership Pro, I absolutely love it. I'll talk about it to anyone who will listen, because I love it and I know the results it gets for people, and I'm really excited about it. So that comes across, right? People pick up on that stuff. So that is the first big lesson that I learned from trebling my business. The second big lesson that I really learned, and learned in a really big way, was that you need to be able to know with certainty what way you sell best. So I'm not going to say that I know which way is going to sell best for you. For me personally, I use a mixture of 3 different selling styles that I know works for me. When people come to work with me, I will never say you must use this one specific style. I will teach them all 3 styles, and then people tend to gravitate naturally towards the style that suits them best. So for me, I've had huge success. I've had massive multi-5-figure launches when I've done live event launching. So I call them event launches because I'm an ex-event manager, and there's nothing more that I love than kind of running an event online that gets people really excited. It's got really high value. You're running something for free and people come along, and then you offer something on the back end of it. That works really well for me, and that's why I enjoy running launches. And I know that I make a lot of sales with them, but I also know that I make a lot of sales when I run workshops. So different types of people attend workshops than attend launches, and I can sell very well and very confidently on workshops, on live workshops. Equally, I know that I can also sell well on evergreen funnels. So for me, I know that a combination of those three tends to work really well for me. So last year, when I trebled my business, I went big on launches. I think I launched like 5 times last year, and I knew that I would get good results from it because that's what happens when I launch. I do well when I launch. I've got clients who are just like, no, I don't want to do launching. I don't want to do a big event launch. It's like, that's cool. Then let's focus in on a workshop, on a live workshop, and see what kind of conversion rate you get with that. And don't get me wrong, with any of these selling styles, there's a lot of trial and error that goes on. You might do a launch that totally flops. You might do one that does really, really well. And that's absolutely fine. You need to really know you need to find out, you need to put yourself out there and actually try these different things to find out which one you're good at, because you might have a feeling that, doing a live event launch might be absolutely terrifying and you'd be no good at it. But actually in real life, if you did one, you might find that the results that you get from it are so good and you actually enjoy it so much, you want to do another one and then another one and then another one. It's like, for me, I'd have never known that I could reach a £23,500 launch if I hadn't put myself out there and tried it. But equally, I didn't know that I could hit like a 10K month just from doing workshops. So you've got to try these things. You've got to figure out where your talents lie, and then you've got to really capitalize on those talents. You've got to get yourself out there and you've got to sell regularly. So I did find last year that when I wasn't selling, when I wasn't focusing in on something and getting people's attention focused in on something, I didn't really make many sales. And that's the truth of the matter. I always say that it's like people will tend to look at the offer that you're asking them to look at. It's like I might have various stuff on my website, but unless I'm saying to people, hey guys, there's this thing here for you, you need to check it out, it's really cool, people don't tend to, yes, you get people finding stuff on Google, but on the whole, when you're talking about something, it's that whole thing, isn't it, where attention goes, energy flows, or whatever the saying is. And it's so true. Unless I'm saying, guys, look at this thing, this is amazing, people won't look at it. So find out what way you sell best. Those are the 3 ways that I teach: live event launching, live workshops, or automated workshop funnels. Those 3 work really, really well. You might have your own way. Maybe you go into people's DMs. Maybe you sell organically on your personal profile. Maybe you're an Instagram king or queen. Whatever it is that you're good at, do more of it and then start measuring it. So say for me, I've got to a point in my business now where I know, give or take, roughly what kind of results I'll get from each type of selling activity that I do. I know what I enjoy the most. And then I try and kind of plan my year roughly out around those kind of selling talents that I have, so that I can make income in my business. Because the problem is, when you don't have a selling plan in place, it's just kind of like, where's your next member going to come from? Where's your next client going to come from? You don't really know, do you? So you need to get into a pattern with that. I'm going to talk about more about that in point 5, actually. So the third thing that I learned from last year, and this was a really big one for me, is that people don't have to know you for ages before they'll buy from you. I think there's this really big kind of like urban myth online that you've got to get people into your world and you've got to nurture them forever, and you've got to give them a freebie and then a low price thing and then a slightly higher price thing before they'll finally invest with you. I must say, for me personally, I have found that to be not true. And I have found that if people need something and you show yourself to be the expert in that thing to help them solve their problem, and you show that you are knowledgeable about what you do, and again, this goes back to my second point about knowing how you sell best, you need to focus in on the area that you're best at, and you need to showcase that to people. It's like, say for me, I know what I'm talking about because I've been doing this for years and years and years. I've been working for myself since 2012. Before that, I was an event manager for the whole of my 20s. I worked in 3 different membership bodies throughout my 20s in the event departments. I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for so long myself, and I've got a 6-figure business myself doing this work. So I know what I'm talking about. And when I share, like I'm sharing with you guys now, you guys know what I'm talking about because I'm talking about it quite freely and openly. Whatever it is that you do, you need to be able to articulate the problem that you solve, and then you need to give people a container where they can come and work with you to get that result. So the problem is with a lot of social media that I see online, a lot of content, like I follow some amazing people online, but I've got no idea what they actually do. It's just like they just share nice content and it's like, oh great, you know, thank you for that really motivational piece of content, but I don't know how to work with them or what they even do really. It's just like they're just nice motivational people. Don't fall into that trap of like thinking that you're some celebrity. It's like you're a business, you know, and it's like if you owned a bakery that made cakes in town, you'd let people know how to buy the cake, right? You wouldn't just constantly do behind the scenes of you decorating cakes and you eating cakes and you having cake parties. You'd be like, guys, if you want to buy a cake, this is the offer that I've got on for you at the moment. This week we're selling great big chocolate cakes, and if you order one online, you can get 15% off this week. Tell people really in a matter-of-fact way how they can work with you, because otherwise, what's the point? Are we just doing this for vanity metrics? Like we've got thousands of followers online, but it's like, how much money are you making? You're a business, right? So for me, I realized that I could take people on a journey over the space of say 2 weeks, for example, when I ran one of my launches, from them never having known me before, not even known who I am, through to paying me over £1,000 to work with me in my program, whatever I was launching at the time. Because I'd shown them that I knew my stuff, I'd shown them that I had a methodology to take them on to solve their problem, and I told them how they could work with me, like the cake bakery. I didn't just show them how I decorated cakes and, you know, invite them along to a cake eating party. I said, guys, this is how you decorate cakes. And then, like, this is just an analogy, I have no idea how to decorate cakes, by the way. I then showed them how they could buy the cake at the end, right? Because I'm a business. So that was a really big lesson that I learned, was that it's BS. You do not need to nurture people for months and years before they'll buy from you. People will buy from you quick enough if they believe that you know what you're talking about, and if you offer them a way to work with you that makes sense and is doable for them. That's all there is to it. So that was a really big learning for me last year. And I think when I realized that, it made me want to sell a lot more. Like in point 2 that I shared with you about regular selling, I realized that once I was confident about putting my offers out there and assertively saying, this is the knowledge I have, guys, this is my history, this is why I talk about what I talk about, and here is how you work with me, here's how much it costs, here is how to apply for that, people will buy it because you are helping them to solve their problem. So the 4th thing that I learned last year was that systemizing my business was a really, really good idea. So what I found was that over the years, since I've been working for myself back in 2012, I think I'd accumulated a lot of gubbins in my business in terms of stuff that was not streamlined, stuff that felt a bit chaotic, perhaps, like things being kind of done on the hoof, and me being quite last minute with stuff, you know, like doing my tax return the day before it was due in, creating content on the hoof very sporadically, you know, deciding to launch the week before, and it kind of adds a chaotic air that you don't really need in your business. So I kind of took a decision towards the end of last year. Actually, it did take me about 10 months or 11 months to learn this lesson, but I realized that I didn't want to be operating in a chaotic space anymore. I knew my business was growing, I knew I was going to hit 6 figures that year, and I realized that I didn't want to kind of operate in that chaotic space anymore. So I took a decision to start streamlining my business. And this isn't something that happens overnight. It's a process I'm still going through now, but I started systemizing and streamlining my business. So I started taking out the things which were not minimalistic to my business. Like I've got this big thing, like I want to get a lot more minimalist in my life. I want to get rid of a lot of my belongings. I want to feel a lot more free and a lot more light in the stuff that I have, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast, I think. But basically, because I had this realization that I had so many things lying around, like unused domain names that I'd registered, and apps that I'd paid for that I wasn't using, and memberships that I wasn't actually utilizing, and, you know, stuff that I'd paid for to learn from coaches, which I hadn't actually absorbed and learned and kind of taken action on. So I think with the streamlining and systemizing, this is a really big thing. So say for me, I'm not particularly interested in hiring a team. That's not part of my, you know, overall goals and plans. But, you know, at some point this year, I will probably hire a VA to help me with some social media stuff. So I know that if I set up a system in place now, which will mean that I can easily hand over to that VA and say, you know, this is what you need to do. Here's the system that I need you to follow. I need you to do to get the job done. And that is systemized and streamlined and in a document ready for me to hand to that person. How much more calm is my life going to be? Instead of me going, oh my gosh, I've got a new VA starting and I don't really know how to tell them what I need to do. And this is going to be stressful. Instead of that, it's like, right, here's a document. It's all systemized and streamlined because this is what you do. Because I've recognized what the system is in my business. I've written that all down in a ready to follow format. Here you go. Let me know what questions you've got. How much more calm and simple and easy is that? So this goes across all things in memberships though. So your onboarding and offboarding, what system have you got in place for that? Taking payments, you know, selling, what's your selling system? What's your content creation system? Systemizing your business is a really good idea. And that's one of the reasons why I've set up the Recurring Revenue Rocks show, is because it's allowed me to create like a content framework for my year, because otherwise I'm just a nightmare. I'll just not do it. I'll not do any social media. Like last year I had big gaps in my social media because I was like, man, I've launched, now I'm going to take a break. But the problem is online, that means that the other people who've got in touch with you are suddenly, you know, they're not being looked after by you. So for me, I've created that system, which means that every Monday I'm creating a new episode of the Recurring Revenue Rocks show. And that means that I've got to, you know, I can talk about it, right? So that means that I've got a system in place. So really have a think about that for yourselves. If you haven't got a system in place yet, think about what systems you can put in place for your membership, for your business overall, for your life. It just helps, right? And the final lesson which I wanted to share with you is about kind of being inventive and coming up with new ideas and being prepared to throw the energy and time and effort at those ideas to get stuff to work. So even though this is going to kind of slightly contradict what I said earlier, but even though, yes, I think it's a really good idea to kind of roughly have your plan in place for what you want to be doing in the year, because that means low stress, right? You know what's coming, you know what's going to happen when. Sometimes business is going to throw us a curveball. And in fact, in business, we get curveballs quite often, right? So for example, in December last year, I had decided that I wanted to hit a 10K month so that I could hit my 6 figures for the year. I could be like, yes, I've done 6 figures in my second year in business. Yes. Like that was a really big goal for me. But at the end of November, I knew that I had to get in at least another 10K in order for that to happen. So I was like, right, do you know what? I'm going to do a launch. I'm going to do a launch and I'm going to get that 10K in. So I set up a launch, but I tried it on a slightly different format than I had previously. I tried to market a slightly different offer than I had previously. And the launch was okay. It made money, but it was nowhere near the 10K that I was after. I think I made 3K, but I'd spent something like $1.5 grand on ads. So it's simply, it was nowhere near the 10K that I needed in order to reach my 6-figure year. So I went back to the drawing board. I was like, right, what can I do? You know, I've got all these people that have signed up for this launch. I've gone through the launch and it just hasn't made very much money at all. And it's not going to get me to my goal for the end of the year. So I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to try a 3-day, 3-workshop series. And I'm going to do my offer again at the end of that. And I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to throw my energy at it. I'm going to throw my time at it. And you know what? I was actually beginning to come down with a bit of a cold. So I was losing my voice, but I was so determined to reach that goal by the end of the year. I was like, I'm not going to have I'm not going to settle for anything less than a 6-figure year this year. I'm going to go for it. So I did go for it and I got in the 10K that I was after, which meant that I went just over 6 figures for the year. And that's because I was prepared to throw my time and energy and belief at it, because I was like, no, I can do this. And I've got another 2 or 3 weeks left of the year. I know it's December. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. I had that belief in myself and I put in the effort. So something that I've seen sadly on more than a few occasions is when people run a promotion, say they run a workshop or they run a funnel or they run a launch, and it doesn't go according to plan. And that happens to everyone, by the way. Don't ever believe that that doesn't happen to 7-figure and 8-figure entrepreneurs as well, because it does. It does happen to them too. It happens to all of us because that's part of business. It's just the way it is. But the thing is, it's how you deal with it, what you do after. So say for me, I could have been like, after that launch, I could have been like, oh, I'm not going to reach my 6 figures. This is so rubbish. You know, why didn't it work? Why me? But instead, I literally gave myself a couple of days of breather and I was like, right, let's go again. And I swear to goodness, that is the thing that makes the difference between a 6-figure business and one that just doesn't get that far, is because people fold too quick. And it's not, don't make it about you. Don't make it a vanity thing. Don't like, allow yourself to wallow a little bit, but don't wallow for longer than a couple of days. Like, get up, move on again. You're a business owner. It's like, come on, I like, with certain things, you shouldn't flog a dead horse. Like, people do vote with their feet. With the offer that I put out at the end of last year at the first launch, it didn't work. It wasn't right. It wasn't resonating with people in the way I thought it would. And, I could be really vain about that. And I could be like, oh, well, it's them, not me. But it's like, well, actually, it's the offer. There's something wrong with it. People vote with their feet. If 180 people have come on this launch and only 2 or 3 have bought, that's not great. There's something wrong with it. There's something wrong here. So you get back to the drawing board, you figure out a different way, a different route, and you get back on your horse and you go again. And I think that's my thing. It's like, go again, go again, go again, go again. Don't get so easily knocked by the first time that people are like, no. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to find a way to get a yes, So that was a really, really big thing for me. It's like, be prepared to throw your energy and passion and effort at your marketing efforts, because it will pay you back. But you've got to listen. Like, people vote with their feet. People will tell you by their lack of action in buying if something's not floating their boat. So go back to the drawing board, figure out a different way, and go again. So that was like my 5th big lesson that I wanted to share with you from 2021, and how I trebled my business in the space of a year. So really, really happy to share that with you. And if you're at the stage now, if you are a membership owner who is at that point where you're itching to start getting consistent money coming into your business from your membership, and you are ready to systemize things and streamline things and step up as a leader, then I would love to invite you to apply for a place in my Magnetize Your Membership Pro course. We work together for 6 months to really up level you to that place of leader, where you're really stepping up and you're, seeing that difference. Instead of getting kind of like 5 or 10 members in, you're going like that big leap. So you're getting 40 or 50 members in at a time. So you can really start racking things up and start really heading towards those 5K months and beyond. That's what we want to get you to in Magnetize Your Membership Pro. So if you head to recurringrevenuerocks.co.uk, have a look along the top. You can see in the menu there is the little section which says Magnetize Your Membership Pro. Just click on there. You can have a read through about what the program entails, how it runs across 6 months, and you've also got a link there where you can come across and apply for a place in the program as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that episode today, and I can't wait to see you in here next Monday for another episode of the Recurring Revenue Rocks show.